Welcome to the video where we will be discussing the week 1 concepts of Python. So now I'm going to write and explain the code in Google Colab. So to open a new Google Colab file, what you need to do is just go to Google and write collab.research.google.com, and you will get into this website, and here you can click plus new notebook to get a notebook where you can write your Python code and run the code there itself, and you can see the output below the code only. So let's name our file week 1. Okay. So remember one thing, whenever you go to Google Colab and try to write the code, before writing the code, you please click on the connect button, which you can see here. It takes a while to connect. Yes, it got connected. Once it's got connected, you can start writing the code. So now I'll write some statements, just observe them. Okay, these are uh, three statements which we are very familiar with from our high school. These we see them in mathematics, and we are very familiar with this notation. Uh, what we call the left side ones is variables. We call this A, B, and C variables, and whatever is there on the right are the values which are being assigned to this variable. Means, see the variable as a bucket which can store values. So we are storing a value 200 in a bucket called A, which is a variable called A. So A contains value 200, and B contains value 130, and C contains value A plus B. Okay, let's just run this code and see what happens. Do we get an error or what happens? So you press this run button here to run any code which you wrote. So when we ran the code, it ran without any errors. So we can say that Python understood the these simple mathematical statements the way we understand. So how to know what this C contains? We know that C contains the sum of A and B, but how to display that? So to display value of any variable or to display anything in Python, we use a built-in function called print. So print will always be followed by these brackets, and inside these brackets you need to write whatever you want to print. Print means nothing but display something as an output, right? So here we want to display the value of C as output. So we just write print, and inside these brackets we write C, and we just run the code. And see, it has printed the value of C, which is A plus B, means 200 plus 130, which is 330. Now let's get familiarized with print with some examples, right? So uh, to insert another code cell, you just need to click on this plus code symbol, and when you click on this, you will get a new fresh code block where you can write the code. Right. So in this, let's say print 20. What will it do? It just prints the value 20. And now let's try to print 34.247. What will it do? it just prints the value which we gave it in the brackets, which is 34.247. Nice. Now, if I want to print a statement, which is, how are you? So, till now, we saw that whatever we are writing inside these brackets of print statement are getting printed. So, in the same way, I want to now print how are you. So, I wrote how are you inside these brackets of print. And when I clicked print, uh, run, it gave an error, invalid syntax. So, from this, what we can observe is whenever you want to print any text from the print statement, you should always enclose that text inside quotations to tell Python that I am going that you are going to write a text and it should display that text which is present in the quotations as it is, right? So now let's run and see what happens. See, now it printed how are you. So you need to uh, keep that text whichever you want to print inside the quotations. But if you want to print any numbers or any decimal numbers for that sake, you need not do it by keeping it inside the quotations. You can directly write. Okay, so you can use single quotes also in the place of double quotes, and that doesn't make any difference. See, I now used single quotes instead of double quotes, and it just does the same. So, double quotes or single quotes, it's the same. So, now I will take another code box and I will define maybe a variable x which contains, let's say, value 30, and another variable, let's say, y, and it contains some decimal value, let's say 12.67. And I am taking another variable k which contains hello friends. Okay, as we saw earlier that we can see variables as buckets which store some value. We can store any type of value in that. In this x, I stored an integer 30. In this y, I stored a decimal number which is 12.67. And this variable k, I stored some text which is hello friends. Okay, now let's try to print it one by one. Print x, print y, and then print k. Let's run it and see what happens. It's just printing whatever is present in the variables, right? So x contains the value 30, so it printed 30. Y contains value 12.67, so it printed 12.67 here. And this here print k, and k contains hello friends, so it just printed hello friends. Now let's try to print these statements um, in another way. Let's take another code box and write just print 30, print 12.67, and print hello friends. Now what will this do? This also prints the same. So you can print anything in two ways. You can assign the value of whatever you want to print to a variable and print that variable, or you can just directly print whatever you want to display inside the uh, print statement only. Now, getting back to this example, if we want to print these three variables, like if we want to print the values of these three variables one after the other, we can use a single print statement, uh, which is print x comma y comma k. Let's run and see what it prints. See, it just printed uh, the like whatever is there inside these x, y, k variables one after the other. In this way, we printed each variable in different lines, and with this print statement, we printed all three values of all these three variables in a single line. Now, let's see some data types in Python, right? Data types. Okay. Okay. Now let's take a code box, and now I'm going to write some variables, like assign some values to some variables very randomly. Let's say we have a class containing 45 students. So I can define a variable called maybe count of students. And the count of students, let's say, is 45. So I assign uh, the number 45 to this variable called count of students, right? And let's say I define another variable which is CGPA, and I want to store someone's CGPA in this. I will just, let's say, randomly uh, take a number which is, let's say, 9.25. Um, because CGPA can be in decimals also. So we randomly took an example, 9.25. And then let's define another variable, let's say greeting. And we want to store uh, good morning in that. Right. Now, let's say I want to define a list, a very random list containing very random elements, uh, maybe some text. See, I defined a random list containing some random elements. And see, now here we have four variables and four values assigned to each respective variable. Now, the doubt that we get is, why can't we like assign uh, all the values to one variable? Right. So now let's try to see what is the type of value that each variable contains. Like, what is the type of value that is being assigned to each of the variable. So to know that type, we use a Python function called type. So let's try to print the type of count of students variable. So for that, we just need a print statement, print type of, print type of count of students. Right. So if I just run the code, it is saying class int. Int means integer. It is saying that count of students is a variable which contains the value as an integer, right? uh, so this variable count of students contains uh, the value which is an integer, that is 45. And let's the same way, let's try to print the type of CGPA. Okay, sorry, there was a spelling mistake here. Okay. See, and now it's printing float. Float means nothing but a number which is not an integer, which is not a whole number. See, it is in some decimal points, right? It's in some points, 9.25. So the numbers which are in this points form are called floating values. So this 9.25 is a float. So now the same way, let's try to print the type of greeting. So greeting is a variable which contains a string good morning. So let's try to print the type of it. See, it's saying str. Str means nothing but a string. So greeting contains a string. And the same way, I want to print the type of my list. See, it is saying a list. As we can see that this my list is a list because it is enclosed in these square brackets, right? And there is another type of data type which is Boolean. Boolean means it has only two possible values, uh, which is true or false. So a Boolean variable can contain possibly only two values which are true, either true or false. So let's say result equals uh, true. Right. If we want to print the type of result, let's see what it gives. See, it's saying bool, right? Which means nothing but Boolean value. Boolean, okay, let's write false and see. See, it's saying again Boolean. So, Boolean variables always contain either true or false. And even though these true and false are, uh, you know, alphabetical characters, we don't enclose them in quotes. We just write them as it is. And remember that the T in true and F in false should be capital for that, for Python to understand that it is a Boolean variable, right? And let's see an example where we get a Boolean as output. Let's say I want to print 5 is greater than 3. Is this statement true or false? 5 is greater than 3. Let's see. See, it's printing true, right? Which is indeed saying that 5 is greater than 3. What if I write 3 is greater than 5? What will it print? See, it's printing false because 3 is not greater than 5. So, in this way, we get some Boolean variables as output. Now, let's understand strings in more detail. Okay, strings. Okay. Now, let us define two variables. Let's say s equals pineapple, and let's say n equals banana. Right. So we defined two variables s and n and assigned uh, the values pineapple and banana for them respectively. Now let's try to do one thing. Print s plus n. What do you think it'll do? Let's run and see. See, it just printed pineapple, banana, one after the other. Uh, right. So it just added them, just combined both of these strings, pineapple and banana, and merged them and printed it. Right. So this form of, you know, combining two different strings is called concatenation. Right. So concatenation is the process of mixing and combining two different strings. So what if now we do s minus n? What will it do? See, it is throwing an error. Unsupported operand type, because we cannot handle it doesn't know how to handle a minus in terms of two strings. So for plus it just combined the both. For minus it doesn't know what to do. So that's why it just simply gives an error. So the same happens with if we want to print s into n. Again, it throws an error. Can't multiply strings. So now, what if we, uh, multiply a string with an integer? What will happen? Now, I just wrote print s into 5. S is pineapple. See, it's just printing pineapple 5 times, one after the other. So this string into an integer will just print that particular string that number of times with which we multiplied it, right? So now let's take another example. Let's say a is 5 and b is 8. Now we want to print the sum of it. Print a plus b. What do you think it will do? See, it's just printing 13, which is 5 plus 8. So the same way, what if I define uh, variables like this? Now, pause the video for a second and think what will be the output of it. So let's run and see. See, it's printing 58. So what is happening here? As we saw in this case, uh, when we defined pineapple as string and banana as another string, and we added both the strings, it just printed one after the other. And in the same way, the here uh, when we enclosed 5 and 8 in quotations, it is taking 5 and 8 as some strings. So because they are strings, it is just concatenating it. And what if we want to print the print the output which we got here with these variables only? So for that, we can convert a string containing uh, an integer to an integer form by just writing int of. So just observe what I'm doing here. See, I am just writing int of a and plus int of b. Now what will it print? See, it's printing 13 because we are converting this 5 which is there which is there as a string into an integer, and we are adding b which is there as a string into an integer, and we are adding those two integers. So now it is printing 5 plus 8 as integers, and the sum of 5 plus 8 is 13. Now let's come back to this example and let's just forget this n variable for now. I'm just deleting it. Okay. Now let's work on this string, right? So, how do we access each character of a string individually? So, if I want to, uh, let's say, if I want to print a character of a string which is there in the fifth position, maybe. So, how can I do that? So, the question is that I want to print the character which is there in the fifth place of this string. So, there is something called string indexing, right? it is a way to access each character individually in a string. So the index of p is 0, the index of I is 1, and n is 2, e is 3, and so on. Like in real life, we start counting. Like if we go to a class and we are told to count the number of students, we start counting it from 1, right? But in Python, Python starts counting from 0. So this p is 0, I is 1, n is 2, e is 3, and so on. So if I want to print uh, the character which is there in the fifth position, I just mention print s. S is the variable name. S of because I started the counting from 0, I just write 4 to access the character which is there in fifth position. So what is that? 0, 1, 0 is p, 1 is I is 1, n is 2, e is 3, a is 4. So the expected output will be A. See, we got A. A is there in the fifth position. So what if I want to, uh, you know, I want only a part of this string. I don't want the whole string. I just want a part of this string. So for that, what we can do is, so let's say I just want to want I want to slice this string from just up to here. So I just want to print NEAPP. So for that, what we do is just you know count the index of the character which you want to start with. So the index of n is 0, 1, 2. The index of n is 2. So you specify here uh, 2, and uh, till where you want to print it. I want this string, right? So I want till this second p, which is 6. The index of this second p is 6. Uh, Even though it is 6, I will specify the index of it plus 1 here to print that. So the expected output here, see, we got NEAPP, which is a which is a substring of this string, right? So what if I want only apple from pineapple? So what I'll do is I just count the index of A, which is uh, 4, right? So I just specify 4, and as we want it till the end, you need not specify the second one after the colon, right? So see, we got apple. So this is called string slicing. So the process to get a substring from a string is called string slicing, which we did now. So let's move on to the other topic. Uh, just observe. I'll write a statement. Now let's run it and see, and then I'll explain. Okay, what is this actually doing? Why did we use input here? We used input here because we want to get the name of the we want to get a name, and we want to say hello, and we want to then print the name, right? So what input does is it first prints whatever is there in this brackets. It just prints it first. See, it printed what is your name, which is there in this brackets. Um and enclosed in the quotes. And then it gives a text box, and it waits for us to give an input. So we have to give an input, and it waits until we give an input, and it stores whatever we give the input into a variable called name. So whatever I write here will be stored in a variable called name, and then in the next step, it prints hello as it is, and it prints whatever is there in this variable name, which is what I gave here. So I'm giving my name here, and I'm just pressing enter. See, it printed hello Anil because it took the input and kept it into a variable called name, and then it printed hello followed by the variable name, right? So we can uh, extend this by asking uh, where do you live, and maybe we can mm, you know ask how is the weather in. See, first it's asking my name, and it's asking where I live, and it's printing hello, my name, and how is the weather in Hyderabad. So Hyderabad is the input that I entered for where do you live. So it's storing it in a variable called city and printing it, right? So by using this input, let's write a small program which prints area of a given circle. So to calculate area, what we need as input is radius, right? So I'm taking input radius. Radius equals input of enter radius. And the formula of area of circle is pi r square. So I'm writing pi into radius into radius. And I'm just printing area of circle with radius, given radius is the area. So let's run it and see what it does. Enter radius. See, it printed whatever is there here, and it's waiting for me to enter the radius. Let's say I enter 6 and enter. See, it's giving us an error. This, what is this saying? Can't multiply sequence by non-int or type float. So what it is doing here is, by default, this input takes the input as string, right? So it basically took whatever we gave to it in the form of, I gave 6, right? So it took that 6 like this. Okay. So it took that 6 like this, and as it can't multiply a string to with another string, it is giving us this error. So what we want to do now is convert uh, this 6 which is there as a string into an integer, like same as we did here. We converted this string into integer. So int of, so it's another way of saying that just take the input and convert it to an integer. So now let's run it and see. Now I'll enter 6 and press enter, and see, it gave area of circle with radius 6 is 113.039. Right. This, so it's following the print statement which says area of circle with radius, which is a string, so it prints as it is, and comma, we specified radius here, so it prints whatever is there in this, whatever it stored the input into radius, right? So it prints that input 6 is 113.039, which is the area which it calculated, right? So that's all. So those are the concepts which are there in week 1, and I will give this. I'll give the link of this collab notebook in the description so that you can practice whatever we discussed today, and then let's meet in the graded assignment video. Thank you.